Everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 564 being recorded on November 13, I think, 2019. I'm Sebastian Peak.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Brett Van Sproonberg.
Yes, Brett makes his triumphant or triumphal return to the podcast. He's our everything behind the scenes. He's our web developer and general person.
Explainer of why did this happen?
Interface.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, I literally, multiple times a day, I'm like at Brett in our chat, like, why am I seeing this? What is this? What are these weird symbols in my URL?
Were you hitting
the code?
Stop hitting the keys so hard. That's part of it right there.
I'm a heavy-handed typist. Yeah, it happens.
I could tell.
I mean, you had wait for screens to refresh, and it's like prompting me, and so I don't. Who has time
actually?
For this?
Today's, I think you somehow managed to trigger some like escape codes or some control codes into some title someplace. And like, hey, what is this octal stuff?
Yeah,
literally.
I just
mad that
in a permalink and it
my special code.
What are you trying to do to people
that
the site?
Code in front of my article for a reason, damn it.
Jim is literally falling over right now. I can tell by the silence.
All right. Well, let's get started. I won't go through the usual preamble. If you found this podcast, you probably know where you got it from.
And are immediately sorry.
Yes.
Sorry about that. You should get checked.
I make no apology. Let's get into the top stories. We have a few things here. Now, we didn't have a podcast last week, in case you weren't aware. And so we didn't get to talk. I think this had already been discussed at that point. November 7 at 9 a.m., I think this news went up. AMD had their official press releases. They had multiple press releases go out. One of them for 3rd gen Threadripper, one of them for desktop. So they did a Ryzen, Threadripper, and actually an Athlon announcement. They sneaked that in there. But November 25 is the big date to remember. It's on Twitch last week. I think I called it multi-core mayhem, something like that. Massive multi-core mayhem. Because they're releasing a total of 74 cores. Actually, 72 cores on the 25th. 74 if you count the little Athlon dual-core thing. But this is we already knew about these products. This is just them making it official in advance, letting us know what pricing is going to be. I don't know if they'd actually released pricing yet. So just to run down, Threadripper 3960X will be their 24-core part for $1,399. And then Threadripper 3970X will be the 32-core, 64-thread successor to the 2990WX, and that will be $1,999. So not quite $2,000.
Can I say something here?
Yes, you can say many things.
Go back to that thing. So my first real computer that I bought on my own was a Phanteks Pentium 133, and it had 16 megs of memory. The same amount of L2 cache as the 3970X. I did not get 128 megs of memory until 1999.
Was it EPO RAM? Was it EPO?
No. It was SD RAM with the.
Was SD RAM
with the 128, but with the 16. No, it was EDO. No, wait. Yeah,
might
EDO.
have been, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's EDO. I didn't get 64 gigs of SD RAM, 64 megs.
Yeah, 64 gigs.
Until the K6-2?
K6.
K6. And the TX chipset was one of the first SD RAM chipsets around. And then VIA had theirs. And SIS had, not to mention ALI. But it was.
And look at the L3 cache on these, 128 megs. We were talking about that the other day in the chat. 128 megs is how much my first computer had, because I bought the first computer I actually bought with my own money was a Windows XP machine right at the start of that. So like December of 2001, I ordered it. 128 megs of PC 100 memory in that thing. And there's 128 megs of L3 cache on this. Memory support,
Crazy,
4 channels,
isn't
DDR4 3200. Yeah. 280 watt TDP. These, I don't know. What do you think? Pricing on these? Because we've seen Threadripper drop and drop. I've gotten used to seeing, obviously, the discounted prices on first and second gen Threadripper at this point. But
I'd say Intel-like.
Yeah.
But then again, I mean, you're talking about, well, it's higher core counts than most of the Xeons that we've been seeing in previous generations. And to be honest, some of the stuff that's going to match this is significantly more expensive from Intel.
And the other thing, it requires another motherboard. You cannot just reuse your Threadripper motherboard from your previous.
Yeah.
You have to get a TRX 40 platform board. And the rumors are those are going to be very expensive. There was a lot of rumors that X570 was going to be like $600. And of course, there are cheaper boards, but you're looking for something to reliably power one of these things. Probably going to spend a little bit more.
There goes the package.
Package is gone. Okay, so Threadripper, we can talk more about that. But also, they've made 3950X official as far as its release date. Also going to be the 25th. So those theoretically will be available at retail on the 25th. This has been pushed back.
I'm sure they will. It's just volume that we question.
Right. I mean, okay, when I say theoretically, I mean it might be available for the first 5 minutes. And then it will sell out and it will be gone for a month. Supply is tight, apparently.
That'll be the phrase.
I think you're going to be surprised that some outlets probably won't even have launch day reviews of this because apparently they don't have very many to send out. At least that's the feeling that I'm getting. So we will see about that. Then there's the little Athlon. I thought the 3000G was already announced. Maybe not, but that's launching on November 19. That's a little dual core 4-thread part with graphics for $49.
Yeah.
So
it's cheap.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good play. Good play on their part.
But hey, I mean, I'm still trying to wrap my head around $2,000 for a 32 core part. When I think there were people who were probably hoping when the 3rd gen Threadripper came out, they would see that 64th core part or at least 48 or something higher. So if you already have a 2990WX and that board and everything's running great, are you seriously going to move like to a $2,000 processor on a new platform? I think it's going to take somebody who actually really can.
It almost seems like it's a placeholder because they're trying to push as much product at this high performance level into Epic where the margins are really high, and they're trying to grow that, and they're trying to provide these buyers and OEMs with as much product as possible. But at the same time, they want to retain their image at the workstation level. And that's it's pretty high end, workstation if you can find one. But yeah, it's an interesting move by AMD because we've got to wonder, what kind of constraints are you under? How much 7 nanometer stuff is actually being produced and shipped. And so far, we haven't seen an explosion in the quarterly results that AMD has shown. I mean, they've improved pretty dramatically, but it's not like world beating. Hey, we've done some incredibly massive things that was not expected. It was it was expected stuff. It's what 1.8 billion this last quarter, which is an excellent quarter for AMD, but then compare that to Intel, which has, Do
you think that's partly a supply problem, though?
You mean like if they could have sold more? Obviously.
If they had more to sell, would it have actually been an explosion?
Could have, and they could have had more SKUs, and they could have had the 3950X sooner, but they didn't. And so that's you know, it's a multi-level type thing. Is bins where you're putting those things that bin high enough that they can be in multi-chip packages, not just 2, but 4 and 8. And where do you make your most money at? And that's why in the past 4 months, the 3900X has been really hard to come by until now, which and now it's approaching MSRP in most sites, and we're getting to the 3950 stage at the end of this month. And it's just, I think it's a juggling act. I mean, they're trying to get as much product out and achieve the highest margins possible while still retaining some leadership position in each of the categories: desktop, workstation, and then server. But really, their primary focus is on well, we need to get these server things. Second is desktop. And third, I think, is going to be this high-end workstation that, while profitable, is not huge. I mean, there have been some products from AMD that have sold very, very well from the high-end enthusiasts, but it's not a common part. I mean, I've seen a couple in person, and two I built myself for the group that we're doing, that we do high-end statistics, that where we need those kind of cores.
I feel like the 3900X and the 3950X, these are far more compelling parts to me anyway than Threadripper, especially at these prices. I feel like, especially the 16 core part, if that has any kind of widespread availability, because I only fear that it won't. I'm not guessing that it won't. I haven't heard anything. I just feel that as long as it took for us to be able to consistently find the 3900X in stock, it might be difficult to buy that 16 core part, because there were people who were holding out for that one. But I mean, to be able to buy for $750 a 16 core 32 thread processor that hits those clock speeds, and it will literally run on 3 different generations of motherboard. So if you already have a 300 series board that's got solid power delivery, if you have a 400 series board or a new X570 board, you're going to be able to run this thing, and you don't have to spend any extra money on memory or anything else. So to me, that's just, it kind of reduced the importance of Threadripper to me, just for a home workstation. Now, obviously, if you're after as many cores as possible, you still have to go Threadripper. But at that point, how much better will the new 3960 and 3970X be than like the 2990WX, especially if that one drops in price and you can get cheaper boards. So I will be very curious to test these head to head. Jeremy, you're on Threadripper, right? But you're on first gen.
Yeah, I'm on first gen. So in a way, it's almost a compelling upgrade, except for the motherboard issue. Because it is a jump up. Even in boost frequency, it's a jump up. Core counts, absolutely. But I'm looking at this and I'm saying, I understand why you don't want to sell to me, because you could be selling an EPYC processor for significantly better profit. So why? I'd love you to do it, but honestly, for them it makes more sense on the limited capacity they've got to just go crazy, ensuring that they've got EPYCs to sell to people that are interested in them. That said, if I had, all the money in the world, I'd be on this, in a second.
Right. Yeah. I mean, money, no object. Obviously, you go after the absolute best performance. I don't think we'll have to look at what Intel has and see, like, dollar for dollar what their processors can do. But I mean, it has been a huge advantage for AMD, obviously, through the first 2 generations of Threadripper at this point, and just blowing Intel out of the water as far as core counts and overall performance for multi-threaded applications for your money. So we'll see if those price cuts we saw earlier this year announced.
Yeah. The rumors are that. Yeah. I'm just going to say the rumors are that this next gen chip might actually be matching or maybe even beating Intel on single core, which is a nice change from AMD.
Hey, speaking of performance, let's move on to the next story so that we can somehow preserve Jim's sanity here. But
yes, that was my Segui.
Some pass mark benchmarks right up on CPUbenchmark.net. We have some Ryzen 9 3950X results. And if you look at CPU mark numbers, they are sitting in third place behind two EPYC processors with 34,009. And I mean, look at how this sits relative to the 3900X, which has scored a 31,877. So the expected boost there. But, you know, you can compare that to like the 9980XE, that Extreme Edition part from Intel's only 29,564. So further gains from AMD. And these are obviously not Threadripper parts.
Look at the speed, though. At 3 gigahertz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No speed listed for this Ryzen. I'm assuming that's an engineering sample, but like final silicon there. Hey, it looks promising. It looks like, I mean, that 9980XE is still what, $1,200, or have they dropped that down below 1,000 yet? I mean, the list price here, it shows 1910, but I think that dropped. And of course, they've already announced the successor to that.
The 10 something something something.
Yeah.
Well, it just goes.
I'm hoping that's made up.
980. Wow. The Newegg listing for the 9980XE is 2947.34 from Unique Marketplace. I'm hoping that's not. Yeah. Still waiting to see those price drops. My favorite budget processor, by the way, since I'm on Newegg here, is the 9400F, just because it was selling for like $129 and it's 6 cores. But that's gone up. I thought Intel was cutting desktop prices, and they're rising.
That is cut.
They're rising. Okay, speaking of Ryzen, the cadence of AMD's releases are Ryzen fast, says resident punster Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'll try. So yeah, Dr. Su at one of the financial meetings made it exciting, because usually these things are quite boring and just bean counters listing out the numbers that you're going to expect and the ones that you've just seen and how this is amazing and you should, have been an accountant because you would be just at the edge of your seat. She announced the existence of the new AMD Ryzen 4000 series, which we can expect early next year. It's going to start with the mobiles. We are going to see the mobiles at the very beginning of the year. The desktops are implied, but it's not even been 12 months since they dropped the new generation that we're on. They haven't even released the 3950X.
Right.
And we're already looking at a brand new generation of chips from AMD, again, 7-nanometer APUs. It's an impressive change, as I said, of cadence for AMD. They've gone past the waltz and are more or less slam dancing with Intel at this point. Just launch. It's sort of exciting. It's questionable as to, do I really want to buy a new chip right now, or do I want to see what's going to come in next? So with all of this work that they've been doing with the Ryzen series, the EPYC series, Threadripper, son of EPYC, the 5700 and 5700 XT on the GPU side, it's just been release, and it doesn't look like they're going to stop. It's going to be fun. Now, another part of that was that they'd mentioned that Netflix is really interested in EPYC. This, as I was alluding to earlier, may mean a little bit less consumer side product, because, hey, if Netflix is offering to throw money at you to provide processors to them, who are you to say no? That's a Godfather-like request.
you know, the entire Zen 2 architect and Zen before it has been aimed really at one thing: improving IPC. Well, okay, two things: improving IPC, okay, three things.
Nobody expects.
Nobody expects the AMD Inquisition, but if you really look at it, they designed a core for the high end, and they've modified it to go to the desktop and then the mobile. And you know, with the IO that they have, the IO chips, I mean, those are expandable. I mean, you got the basic one with the desktop, you got the expanded one with the Epic servers and Threadripper. And it's just, you know, they've aimed these cores to be as high end as possible, to pull as little power as possible. And then they've kind of migrated the design downtown to where normal people like you and I can do it. And so it is not a shock that people like Amazon and people like Netflix are looking at these and like, you know what, it offers quite a few advantages. It may not be an Intel core, which, yeah, I'm going to say this right now, nothing against AMD, but per core, Intel still has, well, other than the mitigations that they've had to do with essentially all the L1 cache, but the performance that's there. Security, that's another matter altogether. But the performance,
you can't have both, really. Why would you want both?
It's like, you got three options, pick two.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, in terms of performance, Intel is still really up there per core. But yeah, I mean, there are other things going on here in the background, obviously. But yeah, no, AMD has done a tremendous job with Rome and Epic and what they've been able to offer, and the flexibility there and the expandability of cores and features and whatnot. They're all really good things, and they're building blocks, and they're getting there. And again, when you're talking about mitigations, that Intel just released one that,
oh yeah,
the performance, I mean, you might as well just cut out L1 cache. It's just, ouch. It's just not, it's not good. And I mean, they're gonna take some hits at the OS level just because of these mitigations, and it hurts. But you know, it's what it is. But yeah, no, I think what AMD has done in terms of their design, their focus, and being able to scale down into, you know, the Athlon 3000G for $50, which is a bargain for 2 cores, 4 threads, and probably be able to overclock that thing quite a bit.
Oh yeah, you will.
Oh, it's unlocked.
Yeah,
it's unlocked. Yep.
Yeah, and so these are all wonderful things, and I think AMD is really hitting a stride. And with the 10 nanometer issues that Intel is having, and even though they've expanded 14 nanometer production with extended 14 nanometer nodes, I think AMD has got some good things rolling.
You mentioned mitigations, and it was funny because we have a story on this, but Intel, their update, their blog post about this it's for the security advisories for November 2019. I love this quote: "Industry collaboration is a key and strategic component to how we seek to lead in hardware security innovation." I'm reading this like it's just all PR speak. Like, where is the actual update about what this vulnerability is? And what products are affected?
Speculate.
You have to, like, wade through. Yeah, you have to speculate.
I heard what you did there.
I didn't predict
nice
that you would do that.
I sit on this branch all by myself, and I'm proud of it.
So, Jeremy, do you have any more information about this latest ZombieLoad issue?
Yeah, it ain't going away. Hooray. And the lovely thing is that, you know, even the Core and Xeon processors with TSX and TAA on them, yeah, it's still going to go on those. It's just part of the architecture. Flip side, not a single attack has ever been spotted by anyone using any of these. So while it is a theoretical issue, it's not something that people are actually actively using to attack, because it is a bit of a bitch to try and do. Some of the Rowhammer and the earlier ones, yes, we did see those. But these ones are more, it's possible, which is horrifying to assisted men or really anyone who values their privacy. But we're not seeing attacks, so don't panic.
They're a little esoteric.
Get upset. Yeah, get upset because it is a horrible thing, but it's not something that you should wake up and worry about every morning. As well.
So is this kind of like the pseudo Spectre thing that Intel said, well, AMD has this too, but of course, to be able to access it, you need to have access to a USB port on the actual server that's running and be able to have pseudo.
Yeah. And once you got physical access, well, guess what? All bets are off.
Yeah.
Which was
that wouldn't be the only avenue that would be open at that point. I mean, let's get real. So.
Well, that would be kidnapping the IT director and, typing it. Never mind.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the same goes for, I don't know if you use LabVIEW, Diadem, MLab, or any of those, Josh, but if you do and you've got Intel products that with the PMX DRV drivers, update them today, because, again, if someone gets physical access to it, even on a guest account, they can start reading stuff off of the buffers and, upload things to the Windows kernel, which is just not something you want. It's a little bit bad. But on the other hand, if you're running Whiskey Lake, Coffee Lake R, or, really weird and Cascade Lake SP, this will not affect you. The attack vector simply doesn't exist on those chips at all. This is more of a Xeon and some of the higher end core architectures. Now, there was some good news out of Intel. I wanted to mention that they've announced the Nirvana neural network processors. So good news for Intel, not so good news for us. They have two different types. The NNP T1000, because you should definitely name something T1000, is for developing machine learning applications. It's just, I can't blame Ryan for this, but I think I might see his fingerprints somewhere on this somewhere. And the NNP I1000, which is for IoT and cloud applications type stuff. It's an interesting brand new way of developing chips. It's part of what Intel was mentioning earlier about changing the entire way that they think about creating chips, but not in a chiplet way, because that would be weird. It's interesting. We're going to be seeing more of these coming over I think we're CES unlikely, but just after that, quite likely. And we've already got Zuckerberg just drooling over these things, apparently. Facebook's already signed up, is tossing money at them to try and get these chips developed, processed, and into their sweaty little hands as soon as possible. And yes, Maxius, there's the TPM thing, but it got too depressing reading that this morning, so I just gave it up. But yeah, the trusted platform management, you just don't trust it. They should put a U in front of it, like UP&P. It is like universal plug and play. No, it's untrusted plug and play. So this should now become untrusted platform management.
At least it's equipped with a plasma rifle in the 40-watt range.
Yes. Dell doesn't fix their DRAC crap from over a year ago. And yeah, it's just fun right now.
By the way, okay, our next story on the list was about Red Dead Redemption 2. Obviously, the huge launch of the year so far. In the PC
you can launch space. It? Oh, that's good. You can launch.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Like I thought, we're going to talk about the launch issues and the AGISA code and NVIDIA drivers and all that stuff.
Yep.
I saw
tons.
I saw some heated words from Gamers Nexus on Twitter today about this, because apparently the developers posted something about this, like apologizing, but I think they've been basically just deflecting the whole time, right, Brett?
Yes.
A console port went poorly.
Amazing.
Yeah.
On Reddit, it said it was just AGISA 1003 that was the problem. People in our chat have been saying that on 1002 it's not an issue at all, but I don't know if they're running.
Okay, what is so strange about all this is, it's on a console, and what is the console hardware?
Think hard. Think. Are you thinking?
Some unknown company,
something.
Matrox.
Yeah.
Micro devices.
It only seems to work on Intel and NVIDIA products on PC. I just makes me unhappy. Yeah.
I liked it when everybody was talking about her. There's never a dull moment.
No. Well,
blah blah blah.
Is bad.
It's better. It's always better than a pregnant pause, like a long dead silence. Like this.
Yes.
So yeah. So Jeremy, you posted about like what it takes to run this. Apparently, if you're on the right Aegisa code version and don't have an offending any other hardware,
the assumption is that you can actually launch and play it as well as run the benchmarks, because there is benchmarks along with it. Yeah, so assuming you're playing it, to be even more specific, on a real computer, not on a console, it's an interesting study in the difference between Vulkan, which is the default API for it, and DirectX 12. And so that's what a lot of the benchmarks have been focusing on, is running it the two different ways.
Yeah.
And long story short, what we found is that if you're running modern generation, an RTX 5700, like a card that's built with DX12 in mind, DX12 is significantly better. Your top frame rates will not change, but that 99th percentile of really slow frames spikes on Vulkan. In some cases, almost doubles.
Surprising.
Yeah, well, it is
usually
because
it's the opposite.
Yeah, usually.
I know. So this
kind
may
of
be something
because the PS4 is definitely not DirectX.
No, it is not.
No. Nope. No.
So it's very weird, and I have a feeling that this will evolve over time. But really looking at the DX12, and I posted another one today where they were just specifically looking at, I think it was a 2060 and a 5700, maybe an XT, I don't remember. And yeah, it's just your frame rates will be great overall, but those lagged frames, those tearing frames, the occurrence of them significantly increases if you're doing Vulkan. Unless you're running an older generation card that isn't really that good at DX12, looking at you, 1080, that I used to really like, then you're pretty much balanced. Either way, it's going to be about the same. In fact, in some cases, Vulkan is actually a better choice for you. Although, don't try it 4K. That's pretty much
kind of makes sense, because generally speaking, yeah, Vulkan generally is the better choice on lower end hardware, especially. So I guess at least in this particular instance, although sometimes on higher end hardware, like certain games, like the most recent one I tested was what was it? The zombie game on Epic, World War Z. That's a Vulkan title.
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
Even on DX12 hardware, ran better on Vulkan.
Yep.
But, let's pause here for a minute to hear a word from our sponsor this week.
Today's sponsor is Capterra, the leading free online resource to help you find the best software solution for your business. What if you could make your work take less work? You can with Capterra. Capterra helps you find the right software for your needs fast, so that you can get back to business even faster. Compare thousands of software options, read reviews, and instantly narrow your favorites. You'll have more time in no time. Find the right software right now at capterra.com/PCPer. With over 1 million reviews of products from real software users, discover everything you need to make an informed decision. Search through more than 700 specific categories of software, everything from project management to email marketing to software designed for yoga studios and health clubs. For any business, small or large, and no matter what kind of software you need, Capterra makes it easy to discover the right solution fast. For example, here at PCPer, we needed a new link shortening service to help us easily share links to our articles in places like social media and podcast show notes. With Capterra, we found dozens of options, and we were able to quickly pick the right solution thanks to Capterra's honest reviews from real users of each app or service, easily comparable lists of pricing, licensing terms and features, and helpful screenshots and videos showing the software in action. And best of all, Capterra is absolutely free. No sign up, no subscription. Just head to capterra.com/PCPer for free today to find the tools to make an informed software decision for your business. Capterra.com/PCPer. That's CAPTERRA.com/PCPer. Capterra. Software selection simplified.
And we're back. Thank you.
Thank you, Capterra.
Jim. Yeah. And of all things, Jeremy has posted a review. I can't remember the last time you reviewed something for the site, Jeremy.
Oh, Christ. I made it all up. I haven't even unboxed the damn thing.
God damn it.
Did you write it in Canadian?
Great.
Did you write it in Canadian?
Okay. Yes, he wrote it in Canadian. I thought about putting a warning at the start, and I'm like, that's offensive to Canadian readers. But seriously,
no, they'd understand.
I mean, there's more use in here.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I've ever seen, because he seems to delight in using the word color, and I've never seen color emitter before. I spelled it correctly. I changed his title.
Yes, you did. And I decided to accept that and not get into an edit battle.
It could get ugly fast.
Yes.
But yeah. As long as you don't change the permalink, I guess we're okay.
Well, that's the idea. That's really the important one.
Yeah. So tell me your impressions.
There are some people who can't manage that part, so.
Ain't me, babe.
Hey, that was a freak accident. I have no idea where those characters came from. On my side, it looked fine.
Okay? I'm sure that it did.
At least I'm.
In the dev end, it was great. I don't know what's wrong with you.
In IE 5.5, it works flawlessly. Okay. My Windows
to IE 6.
My Windows ME virtual machine that I write everything in.
Why aren't you doing it on Web TV still? I thought you were still using that console thing, Web TV.
It broke.
Damn it!
I have several on eBay I'm watching right now. So maybe I get a good deal.
Move on that. Josh still has one, I'm sure.
I love internet appliances, man. Like it's like the terminal of the modern age.
You wear it on your wrist now.
Emphasis on the terminal.
It's true.
Okay, Jeremy, please tell us about this Spider or.
So it's why you invite me.
SpyderX Pro. Sorry, not Spider 4 Pro.
SpyderX Pro.
Spider 10 Pro Max.
Yes. Yeah, we don't know how to pronounce X anymore, do we? Regardless, it is the 10th generation of Spider, so you choose which way to go with that. But I've played around with a Huey for a very long time, and it's dead simple. You spuck it onto your screen with the suction cups. It runs through some flashy tests, and it tells you you're wonderful and does some general sensing of your ambient light to try and, not that you ever notice, but dynamically change what the colors are on your screen. Now, the Spider has been more for professional monitor reviewers and people that just, for whatever reason, need proper colors on their display so they know that they're working from something. Spider is a little bit more involved. So they run through some tests where essentially you've got to have your monitors on for about half an hour to warm them up. You do a factory reset, turn off all of your gamer, office, whatever effects that come in with your monitor via the on-screen display, so that it's starting from a very basic, everything is the same. It then gets you to put it on, and it runs through a brightness test, where after it takes a look, and of course, as you go through, a desktop and a laptop is going to be different. It will give you a chance to do actual manufacturer models. So in my case, it wasn't listed, but if you have a newer monitor, it's already going to have a basic profile built in. It lets you choose. So if you are using one of the fancier Apple displays, you can adjust for that specific type of backlight or LED. It takes a look at the backlighting on your room, measures it, puts it up there, and then you are given a target, be it like 57 or 5600K if you're on a monitor that does it that way, or a number that you're trying to reach if it's just doing it via 0% to 100%. Once you've matched that as best you can, you then run through, and very quickly it goes through a light show. It's a minute or two, and it's then not just gives you a look at your calibration, it gives you your displays gamut in sRGB, NTSC, Adobe RGB, and P3. You actually get to know if the monitor that you spent a whole bunch of money on is doing what was advertised, which can matter a lot, not just for people that are doing, professional design, but, if you spent 18 hours stacking those Skyrim realism mods over on top of each other, you might as well have the colors the right thing. Otherwise, it's not quite the same. If you're into streaming games, it's going to be hard to make your stream look proper if what you're looking at is already just a bit wonky. So colorimeter it's more for general purpose, but herein lies the issue. They're not cheap. They're never cheap. It's a significant sensor, and it's just overall a fairly impressive chunk of technology. So for what I reviewed, which was the SpyderX Pro, is $170 US. The SpyderX Elite is $100 more, but it has some interesting tricks, such as it's able to do projectors. When you're doing reflective light versus ambient, it's very different. I haven't had a chance to check it out yet. I'm hoping to at my local pub, because they're just going to replace the bulb in their projector in the near future. And I'm curious to see also how it works. Transmissive. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've done theater lighting. Freaking long time. And that was additive. And so if you've got a reason to do it and a little bit of money, the Spyders family has been the de facto one to go to for many, many years. It's got some great designs over the years. The protective cup that you see there on the USB cord is also the counterweight. So it slides down and you just hang it behind your monitor so that your sensor isn't going to go flopping around, which was probably the only thing that I didn't like as much about this as I did about the Huey, is it doesn't have a suction cup. So their suggestion is tilt the monitor back so that you can get a proper fitting to the screen.
Huh.
Yeah,
which isn't too bad as long as you've got a monitor stand like I do, or a decent monitor with a built-in stand. A lot of them just simply can't do that. So something to think of. Could always lay it flat if you really wanted. So it's not something for everyone, but it's well worth it. And honestly, my brightness was way too high, according to this, and it took me about 2 days to get used to it. And after that, it's like, yeah, okay, this actually does look significantly better. The whites aren't as overwhelming, but are still pure. Word of warning to people with HDR monitors: dynamic brightness will interfere with trying to get anything going on, because as it gets a signal for a very bright screen, like say the full white screen it's doing to do the white test, your HDR monitor is actually going to increase the brightness beyond what it is. So when you're doing the calibration, disable it, assuming you can do so. Most monitors allow you to do that. Get your base reading, then turn the HDR back on, and things are going to look good. And yes, it does do multiple monitors. I'm running 3.
Do you really think it's an issue? You mentioned as you were starting to talk about it, do you think it's still an issue with LCDs having to heat up? I know it used to be a bigger issue with phosphors in CRTs, of course. Yeah. I mean, that was the significant problem with getting everything warmed up into the right color temperature and all that. But what kind of an issue does LCD present in like the heating versus color, emittance and brightness? I haven't really noticed.
I mean, at this point, not much. But
yeah, I didn't think so.
It's worth doing. I think it's especially in there for people with slightly older monitors. Like my Asus ones are probably pushing 8 years now. And so things get old. It's you may not get the instant on that you used to.
No, are we talking about the same thing?
Well, 6-1.
Okay. And you did say puck it up there, right? Just want to cross-check on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, just check. Has it improved your Minecraft game any?
I still haven't got into that pile of crack cocaine yet.
Come on, RTX Minecraft soon.
That's right.
Well, I'm still on the 1080, mate. But if I ever get an RTX...
You can't RTX on with that.
Yeah.
You can. I mean, you shouldn't, but you can.
Oh, well, okay. Yep, you're right.
It'll be
technically.
really slow.
You can. Pascal can.
Yep.
Oh, by the way, this isn't in the
Minecraft
list,
to be fast.
but did you guys see that Neon Noir, that CryEngine demo
API
from back at CES that was
agnostic
released?
RTX
That was
stuff?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Today. I have got to get that going and start testing some cards. I love the look of that thing. That's what'll sell me on RTX finally. And that's like Josh said, it's platform agnostic. You can run it on AMD. Yeah. In fact, they did the demo at CES on what would they do it on? A Vega 56? It wasn't even a 64?
It was. Yeah, there it is right there. Vega 56.
And it was only
resolution
like
of 1357 by 754.
It's all software and math, man. You
right.
can do it. Think about when Half-Life guys did the Source engine in HDR. That was mind blowing.
A while ago
at the time. You could do it on regular hardware.
So do you think they backed into that resolution by computing how much more bandwidth do we need and how many pixels do we need to cut out to get it? There's one of those pauses. There's one right there.
Yeah, exactly.
I have no idea.
Nobody has anything to say.
Damn it!
Josh has an answer for everything.
Nope.
When in doubt, talk about computer cases. That's my go-to strategy. And Kent put up a review of a SilverStone case. This is the RL08 or RL08. It's a micro ATX case. He really liked this thing. One of the first things I'm going to point out right now, Josh, is the presence of a 5 1/4 inch bay. The presence of a 5 1/4 inch bay on the front of this mid tower.
Let me jump in here. This one is Lee. Lee did the SilverStone. Kent did the next one for us.
Sorry, Lee. I get confused because I'm the one who put both of these in the system. Because initially, when I put them in, it says that I wrote them until I go to the drop down and change that. So I apologize. This is one that, Lee actually really liked this. I am starting to remember now inputting this. And it's kind of... Okay, do you remember the Temgen TJ08-E? Anybody listening or watching here remembers that case? It had
no, but I'm disturbed by the fact it mentions DTX.
Yes, it's not rotated. It's inverse, I think. Okay, I think there's some confusion, and I suffer from this, about the difference between rotated versus inverted case layouts. And
traces are on the inside.
Yeah, sorry, Ken. So anyway, internally, this is very similar to the TJ08E, which was a very well-known, solid, it's still my favorite micro ATX case of all time. There's some changes to make it a little bit more modern. It has the power supply on the bottom now instead of the top. You had to sort of share space between an optical drive and the PSU, which was tricky up top in the original version. The original version also shipped with, I call it the original version. The Temgen shipped with a giant 180 millimeter fan up front. This has 2 conventional fans up front. So they've had a few takes on this over the years. This is just kind of an update to it, but it still has that layout. And I'm sure there's schools of thought on both sides about whether this actually works or not. Putting the GPU up top, though, does allow for it to intake air through the vents on the top of the case in lieu of like a fan mount. Because if you're using a micro ATX case, you've only got a couple inches between like a 2.5 slot video card and the mesh up top. You can technically fit 2 graphics cards in these cases, but they have to be exactly dual slot width cards, which of course is a limitation of micro ITX anyway, because you only have 4 expansion slots.
570 minis.
Yeah. A Nano. Get the Nano.
Or the Nanos. Yeah, now we're talking.
I mean, people like to get smaller cases like this and do custom liquid cooling and stuff. So, I mean, you can always fit dual GPUs in here if you really want to. But, you know, just check out the review for all the details and build photos and all of that. But it's funny to me. Like, I'm looking at the interior pictures, and it's even got like a GPU support bracket that you can mount in different positions. That's similar to what the old Temgen case had, although that one was like a floor-mounted bracket to hold up the PS or to hold up the graphics card to keep it from sagging. Or was it for the CPU?
You know, I have one question about the Sol Sebastian.
Yeah.
Why in God's green earth do you have a 1,000-watt power supply and a micro ATX?
I mean, overhead, I guess. You don't? I just use 1,000-watt power supplies for everything, but I'm lucky enough to have several of them laying around. Like, if I'd actually have to try to find something.
Especially the SilverStone ones. They're cheap.
Well, hey, maybe SilverStone sent the power supply along with the case. Or maybe Lee was just like, hey, I've got the SilverStone PSU. I'm going to put it in the SilverStone case. I used the same. And in fact, this is the same one that I used to use. The Strider. No, this is a different one. I had a Strider 1000, but it was only a silver. 80 plus silver that I used in every case review for like 3 or 4 years, I think. But yeah, I mean, they're nice because they're compact. So SilverStone's always been about like density. So they typically have one of the densest power supplies you can get in that 140 millimeter depth. But enough about the density.
That's when we start singing density. No,
it's the editor's choice
for me. Density. Come on, you guys know what that's from?
I don't know what that's from.
It's supposed to be Destiny. Young Frankenstein, come on.
Oh yeah, okay. Frankenstein. Minor weakness. He only lists one. The large lower baffle is not removable and may restrict the airflow to the 3.5-inch hard drive. That's it. Everything else he loved about it. Premium build quality. You like the dark tempered glass side panel. I like the light or no tint glass side panels now, but anyway, to each their own. Support for smaller form factor motherboard. Now, Mini DTX is that longer Mini ITX board, right? Is that the one that has the extra expansion slots, but otherwise is the width of Mini ITX? But hey, if you have one of those, it has the holes already. You don't have to drill anything. So yeah, editor's choice. Read exactly why with Lee's review. And of course, now that I've completely butchered this, now we get to the Kent review. He was not wild about this. This was a Phanteks case. They have now multiple cases in this P300 series. This is the P360X. And he tried to be diplomatic about this, but he did not love this case. So let me see, what's the pricing on this one? $79.99. So the cheaper option would be the P350X, which is $10 less, which he thinks is a better case all around. An issue with this, and I think the last one we looked at had a mesh front panel. The issue with this is just airflow. It's, you take a case, you put a solid front panel on it. There's 2 little slots to take in air, but they're also occupied by these internal brackets that provide RGB lighting. So it leaves very little room for airflow to actually get in. If you look at the front panel, though, I mean, it looks great. When the lighting is turned on, you got a great shot of the front panel, RGB glowing. But, you know, more space for airflow would have been a very good thing. I mean, it's very much like any of the other Phanteks cases, like the 300 or 400 series cases. If you've looked at any of those, you're not going to see any like groundbreaking new interior layout or design. It's still well made. All the Phanteks stuff that I've ever gone hands on with has been very well made. But here the issue is temperatures, and he just ran it with stock fans. It had the highest temps of anything he's tested, highest CPU load temps, highest GPU load temps. by a few degrees. And then with standardized airflow testing, where he kind of brings everything, you can read his actual process, but to try to level the playing field, it's slightly improved from its bottom of the list performance, as he says, but only slightly. So you have to determine if it's worth it to you to trade. And unfortunately, enclosure noise is not great either. Wow, looking at this. Load noise up to 51 decibels. It's like 7.5 dBs higher than the next case on the list. Wow. So, yeah. That terrible combination, unfortunately, of high noise and bad thermals. So, seems like it's a better bet to just go with one of the cheaper 300 series cases.
But is it pretty?
Oh, it's very pretty.
Phanteks has got RGB game. They're good.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of cooling, I did a review last night, I think, of this Fuma 2. I think it's pronounced Fuma. Fuma. It's the SCFM 2000. This is from Scythe. And ever since I reviewed the Ninja 4 back in the day, I don't even remember how long it's been. That was the cooler that just like broke my test methodology. Like the SPL meter I was using wasn't sensitive enough. I couldn't pick up any noise from it. On its low setting, it only spun at 800 RPMs. It was just insanely quiet, but still extremely effective. I've been impressed with their mounting hardware, with the quality of the heat sinks. The fans are really quiet. They make really, really good stuff for the money. And this is a $59 cooler that it's just light years ahead of, I think, their previous design. The Fuma was a solid cooler, but this is just significantly better. They've made it bigger, but then they have this asymmetrical design to keep it away from the RAM. Got a big cutout on one of the two. This is a dual tower cooler. Has a cutout, which makes sense if you look at their image of it installed on an X299 board. So it actually lets you install really tall memory, like the HyperX Predator heat sinks that are like double the height of regular DIMMs.
How thin is that bloody fan?
I know, that's the thing.
Asymmetrical fan thickness as well. That's clever.
There's all sorts of stuff going on here. The two fans that it comes with are these Kaze or
Kaze
Black.
Is that a 20 mil or a 25 mil?
25 in the middle, 15 on the next to your RAM module. So like the rear fan is only 15 millimeters.
Oh, those
thick.
are the measurements I like.
And here's the other thing. Here's the weird thing. This uses what they call a reverse airflow concept, the reverse jet flow. So the rear fan is spinning in one direction. The middle fan is spinning in another direction, which I don't think I've ever seen before. And
not unless you installed your fans wrong.
Right? Yeah.
Well, that's that's counter rotation. As long as airflow goes in one way and you do counter rotation, you're increasing turbulence, therefore kind of noise, but your air density increases dramatically. Or at least
you said density.
Density.
They claim up to 15% improved performance versus the original Fuma, but I put it up against just recently tested stuff. I used that i7 7700K. I've been using for 2.5 years now. The same CPU that Josh has in his system. It's a toasty CPU. What do you use to cool that, Josh?
Corsair A50.
Oh, okay.
Which is a pretty good tower fan for the time.
Yeah. So you got liquid cooling going on that thing. Just looking at the chart here, this staggers me. Like the fact that this $59 Fuma 2, and I double checked everything. This is the same platform, the exact same motherboard, same CPU.
Yeah.
And it was 2 degrees, well, not quite 2 degrees cooler than the Be Quiet stuff that I've tested. Now, I have noticed that the X264 benchmark that I have used forever to test CPU loads is not quite as hard on the CPU as running Cinebench all-core. I've been using that in lieu of, I did a torture test with the Prime 95, like small FFTs. I don't do that anymore because with this 7700K, it basically hits TJ Max on anything but a really large cooler. And I hated having to stand around and kill it once it hit 100 degrees. Although I know there's nothing's going to happen to the CPU. I'm sure it'll shut down, but always made me nervous to watch it in the high 90s. But even running Cinebench, I ran Cinebench with this, and it hit a max of 54.6 C above ambient, which was still 3 degrees lower than the Dark Rock Pro 4. So this is a significant achievement for a $59 cooler. So apparently that reverse jet flow system is working quite well. Plus, these have outstanding mounting hardware. Like, it sounds boring, but the actual connection to the CPU is as good on these as anything. And it's just gotten better. I think it was the Ninja 5 that was the first one that used this slightly revised version of their mounting system. And one of the things I pointed out in that review and in this review too is the little plastic spacers. Like when you push the bolts through the bottom of an Intel system, you've got to put a spacer on there. With Noctua coolers, it's just black plastic. These it's black plastic too, but it's lined with rubber. So when you push them down in place, they stay put, and they actually sort of lock the base plate in place on the opposite side of the board. It's the best installation experience of any of this type of cooler on an Intel platform that I've ever used. I wish everybody would do that. Just put a rubber washer on the other end of the spacer, and that sounds like a really small thing, but seriously.
No, you're trying to sandwich like three things.
She'll appreciate it in the end.
Yeah, no, the rubber, encases the shaft of the heat sink, and it holds it tight, and it expands to increase the pressure on it when it is pushed further down into the hole.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Hope you guys are as excited as I am now.
Okay. So anyway, that was the Scythe Fuma 2, which I need to do some more testing on. I want to test this on some like the big boys like the R9 3900X and the 9900K, or maybe even the KS. But
we should get a Josh testimonial at the bottom of some of these. Just thinking. Mm-hmm. It's that would be fun.
Till the lawsuit.
The mounting procedure was quite satisfying.
Yeah, more of that. Yeah,
it was firm. It was firm, but
pliable at the same time.
Yes, mm-hmm. There we go.
There's a little bit of give.
In the end, we were all satisfied.
Well, somebody.
Let's not even get into the heatsink compound that was spread across the CPU.
It was 100% organic.
Yes, from Kentucky.
And it got the hotter it got, the more it flowed.
No Kentucky compound was used in the testing of this cooler, even if it was an Intel CPU. All right, Jeremy, do you have a pick this week?
So this is old, apparently, but I had no idea this was a thing. You can slap on your Oculus Rift and visit the International Space Station. It's not just, wandering around being silly. They've actually got a couple of people that have been on there to offer you a guided tour explaining what's sort of going on. The bloody thing's apparently won an Emmy. But seriously, if you've got a VR headset, like, how have you not done this? This is exactly what this damn stuff is for. It's just
okay.
It's blowing me away.
I think I know what it's for, but maybe this is the non porn version.
Well, the other
of VR is for.
This is just a different type of porn.
No, VR is for porn, but yes,
sorry. Right.
This is the other type of porn.
It's like, this is interesting. Also,
yeah. So apparently, it's been out for a little while. It's you just grab it, go have fun. With the Rift or the Rift
for our audio listeners, Jeremy, what are we talking about here?
As I said, you get to don your VR goggles and visit the International Space Station.
It starts out Mission ISS.
ISS, yes.
It's free.
It's an experience. Yes, it's free.
But you have to own the Oculus Rift headset, right? It doesn't work with any VR headset, right?
Starting at $550 Canadian. The Rift or the Rift S.
It's cheaper than a ride into space.
$399 US.
Yeah.
Interesting. Who's next? Josh?
Is it me?
Yes. Yes, you were next on the list.
What did I do? Oh, yeah, fun case. The NZXT H510, which I believe you reviewed in the past.
Yeah, I did the Elite version of it, I think.
Yeah, no, this is, for $70, you get tempered glass. You get no 5 1/4 inch bays, which, you can live without. It's got a USB-C connection, which you need to make sure your motherboard has USB-C little connections, different from the USB 3.0. Totally different. Otherwise,
I gotta like the top of that.
It's a pretty spacious case, and I loaded up a full ATX board. I've got 2 mirrored 4 terabyte hard drives in there. I've got NVMe, which takes up no space at all, and 2070 Super, and everything goes really well together. And cable management is fantastic. It doesn't have any RGB, which is wonderful because, every other video card, heatsink, and fan from AMD and motherboard has got more than enough RGB to provide the happiness that I guess that you require. It comes with 2 fans. It stays relatively cool. It's not the most silent case, but for $70, it's got a really good feel to it. The tempered glass is nice. Everything fits nicely. It's well constructed. It's got the little bay for the ATX, the power supply, which in theory you really don't want in the bottom, sucking stuff up from the floor and out the back. You'd rather
got a filter down there, right? They put filters on the bottom.
Yeah, it's got filters there. But if you think about airflow in a case, I still am a big fan of having the power supply on the top of the computer.
You're a big fan.
I'm a big fan.
Do you see those
more stable base though? You got a nice weight sitting at the bottom of your case.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's true.
But
resist tipping,
sucking up all of the crap from your floor. Yeah,
exactly. And you got animals, you got pets. I tell you,
yeah,
you get a lot of stuff.
Hey, Josh, this is why you need a 1,000-watt power supply, because the 1,000-watt power supplies pick up way more cat hair than those 550-watt power supplies do.
Yeah, and unlike the 500-watt, it doesn't properly incinerate it. The 1,000-watt just turns it to dust. It's gone.
And if you go up to like a 1,500-watt, it's just going to be like it's like a vacuum cleaner.
You're gonna have to suck it out. It's going to be a plasma generator in the middle of my power supply, powered by cat fur.
Right. The area of efficiency underneath the power production curve is still there, with the inlet totally plugged with fur. So that's why you need to move up to the 1,000.
Exactly. Or 1,500. I have that platinum 80.
Yeah, you want that fur plugged headroom. That's what you want.
Yeah, of course you do need platinum power. You can't just put any like gold rated 1,500-watt power supply down there.
Silver and bronze is out the door.
Wait, who did that?
If you
Jim's still away.
If you're spending $70 on a case, you've got to put like a $300 power supply in there.
Wait, I have actually I have a legitimate comment. That the air inlets on that actually didn't look all that much larger than the not very good flowing Phanteks case that was just
Phanteks. They're slightly larger, but they're not that much.
Hey, Josh, you're being generous. The H510 does not have very good airflow, and you mentioned the noise. That's what they did to make up for it. Those fans spin way faster than they would need to spin.
That was my next question. Yeah,
if they the 510 Elite that I reviewed, it was like 40 decibels under a normal CPU load, which is pretty high today. Like most cases are in like that 32 to 35 dB range.
But here's the thing, we live in Laramie, Wyoming, which is pretty cold, and the office we're in is pretty cold, and so all the people around this guy who has the case, they've got these personal heaters that run all the time, and so he doesn't even notice the case fans because, personal heaters.
If you had yourself, you said you have a RTX 2070 Super in there. It's not really a downgrade. Isn't the 1080 Ti relatively close to an GTX 2070 in performance.
Well, 2060
Super, running it.
But
needs
1080 Ti
extra.
will heat up your house. Please get yourself a Founders Edition. Like, it's so hot. Whenever I get out the 1080 Ti for anything, this thing is so hot it literally starts to melt the DisplayPort connector.
How are you handling that without oven mitts right now?
Well, it hasn't been on in a while, and it's also very cold in this room. But this is a freaking furnace. I thought the R9 290X was hot. This thing is really hot. My pick is actually
I have
free.
One.
Go ahead, Brett. Go.
No, I want you to go last because you should back clean up.
No.
Yeah. So I actually have one today. I just came up with it just a few minutes ago. I mean, how could we possibly go through today without mentioning? Oh my gosh, why haven't we talked about the 16-inch MacBook Pro? I mean, you got to have one of those.
Numerous reasons.
Oh, Josh.
One, I couldn't find it on the website.
It's
Two,
it's there.
I don't have $5,000.
No, you don't need $5,000.
It's not $5,000.
You could start. It starts
Canadian.
at as little as $2,300. Okay, Canadian. That's just fake money anyway. But I priced mine at a very reasonable $4,300. And when I say mine, I'm using air quotes to say mine.
You have not pre-ordered it?
I have not yet pre-ordered it. I actually still own. I still own and use as my portable Mac a 2011 17 2.5 with 16 gig and a pair of SSDs in it. So none of their portables could replace it.
You know why that still works after all this time? Because it actually had adequate cooling.
Well, it sort of did, although I did have to take it back and have the graphics chip replaced because it suffered the failure. But
it's an NVIDIA?
Yeah, I believe it was an AMD one, I think. Anyway, they all failed from 2011. Yeah. But anyway, this new one actually finally doesn't have the I have no way of charitably talking about the previous keyboard other than
the butterfly piece of shit.
That one, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I don't have any charitable
SSD
charitable way to talk about that.
What the hell?
Hey, where can you get 8 terabytes of SSD?
Absolutely. Okay, that is interesting.
For $2,200.
Well,
there's got to be more than one in there.
$400 for 2 terabytes.
And only OWC's come up with an 8 terabyte yet.
It's where else can you find it where it isn't totally soldered in and not removable? I mean, you have to pay for that privilege. I mean, come on, this is the way that Apple
I want to see the
iFixit
tear down on this because I'm guessing exciting. They're using some sort of socketed storage in this one.
No, I've seen a picture of it. If you look on the site, they've got a picture of it, and then there's 8 chips soldered to the board.
Really?
Yeah. God, sad but true. I watched this animation like 3 times.
Fans. Ooh. Dual fans.
Right. So I think
makes no sense.
I think Jim is going to expense one of these soon.
Oh, he needs to. I mean, because he had one of those wonderful butterfly equipped 15-inch MacBook Pro.
Now I hope he threw that against the.
Let me ask you all a question. It's a rather personal question.
What?
So when you scrolled through the Apple site for this product, did you want to punch the monitor because you scroll and shit just doesn't work like you expect it?
Yep.
It's like you scroll and suddenly a laptop opened up in front of you instead of you scrolling down. And it does all kinds of crazy. Look at that. It's like, come on.
I went back and watched some of these. Like, how did they do that? That's really fascinating. I wasn't looking at the product. I was looking at how they managed to do that in a browser.
Why can't our site look like this? I need these effects or not.
See, look, I want to be an adventure photographer, but no, I'm not on the website. See, look at that crap.
Hey, the Mohawk's coming back.
Jim, are you getting one?
I got no money, so no. But also, it's important to note 9th gen Intel, and that's not Apple. True. That's Intel not having a part at that wattage.
You mean AMD?
And AMD graphics.
Well, it's got
it's got that new 5500.
Yes,
right?
It's Navi graphics,
5500M,
Navi mobile,
Yep.
and because
the one that people are screaming that is never going to get released.
that's the one.
Well, released
Guess what?
as a standalone.
It just got released. That's unlikely to happen.
But the other big issue that you should be aware of too is that because of the Intel processor choice, it's Wi-Fi AC, not Wi-Fi 6 or /AX. So a few significant drawbacks for a brand new premium computer released in late 2019. So just
has an escape key.
Why, of all things, okay, the product exists. 10th gen mobile exists, right? I know it's in at least one laptop.
Well, 10th gen mobile exists as a 15-watt part up to 25.
Right.
This is the 45-watt category.
But hey, but Jim, 10th gen exists as 14 nanometer for the high performance segment, right?
14 nanometer plus.
Not at 45 watt though. That starts at
what?
What?
True. It's 25. Yeah.
25 and
that was configurable. I thought the higher core count parts were
maybe,
configurable
but
to 45.
Is Apple going to let you do that?
They could have gone with a discrete AX chip, but they won't. And then this also means, of course, that because they just released this, we won't see true 10th gen 10 nanometer Intel till probably late 2021 or late 2020 or early 2021.
You're probably right about the 2021, actually.
But the 13-inch MacBook Pro, if they go with Ice Lake in that, will have integrated Thunderbolt 3, on the chip and integrated Wi-Fi 6. So it'll be a more compelling feature set in the smaller MacBook Pro. But I'm not going to buy one. I can't buy one.
I wish I could buy you one.
You're not.
I probably could technically, but I won't. But I wish that I wouldn't make the choice not to buy you one.
I can just, if it's easier for you, I can just deduct it from your next paycheck.
And the one after that. And the one after that. And the one after that.
Jim needed a new laptop. Jim's laptop died. And right. What press contact do we have at Apple again?
Right.
They have never answered any email I've ever sent them or phone call I've left. Ever.
After all those years, Jim, running an Apple focused site and working at Mac Observer, and
I know, yeah,
it's nothing.
Pretty sure that one's not my fault.
That's okay. At least I got personally refused an iMac back in 2000, 99, 2000, by an Apple PR person. So,
like the ones that are built into the CRT
down the hole. That's very sad.
Like those original ugly ass iMacs that were the whole all-in-one system.
Yeah.
Blue, orange, green.
That was probably a good thing that you didn't get.
You didn't want one of those.
It was sad. I didn't care.
I saw one once that actually perfectly fit in. It was at a beauty salon. That's what they used for the POS system, and it was perfect.
It was a POS.
It certainly was.
Yes.
Hey, 233 megahertz G3 processors and tray load laptop drives, which apparently infuriated Mr. Jobs, who had demanded a slot load drive, and they didn't have them in time.
Hey, built-in modems are coming back. Built-in modems are coming back. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. And that was the one that dropped the floppy drive, and that outraged people, and it had USB and no serial ports, and they've always done this stuff. And now we have laptops with like zero connectivity because the industry says, okay. And,
thinner,
I'm not saying
thinner.
That's actually not what happened. What happened was Apple dropped all the ports, and then the industry went, oh, okay. That's what happened.
No, that's what I'm trying to say. The industry copies even Apple's mistakes. I think it personally, they have a laptop that they call the Pro laptop. And by the way, under Cook, it's getting as bad as it was in the mid-90s with all the different product segmentation issues that they have now. It used to be crazy, and then they whittled it down to like 4. It was Pro laptop, Pro desktop, and then consumer desktop, which was the iMac, and consumer laptop, which was the iBook. And now it's like MacBook Air, and then there was the MacBook and MacBook Pro. And for a Pro machine, there's no SD card reader slot on it. There's no full-size USB ports. There's no Ethernet. It's so thin, it doesn't adequately cool the CPU, so you never really get like long duration for the boost frequencies of the CPU, which is usually a higher core count CPU with a higher TDP. It's in a MacBook Pro, and then painfully inadequate graphics for the amount of screen resolution that you have to deal with because they're Retina displays, so it's like a 4+K display on that new. I haven't looked at the resolution of the new one. Probably sub 4K, but still, like, if it's Pro, I would deal with an extra 2 or 3 millimeters to have like an M.2 slot for my.
They actually made this one slightly thicker. They acquiesced. It's slightly thicker
because they
and slightly heavier.
They put the old keyboard back in.
Well,
it's a scissor switch instead of butterfly.
Thank God.
And it's funny because I love that they actually say the all new. It's like, no, it's not all new. It's like 80% new or 75% new because you're using the Magic Keyboard, which launched like 4 or 5 years ago.
They're using the Magic Keyboard, yes, parts of it.
And they're literally calling it Magic Keyboard, which was the product, like the marketing name for their scissor switch, low profile, low key travel keyboards they sold as a Mac accessory. Anyway, my pick of the week.
You're really helping Jim to get a review model here.
Yes.
Have you actually drank any of that beer out of your Star Trek mug?
It's gone.
Oh, shaving cream. It looked like it was still full. Cream.
No, it's just.
That's why it looked like it was a black and tan when he first got served.
Yeah.
And when my wife brought this down here and I saw the glass, I thought, oh, we have Guinness. This is a Guinness, and then it's just like, no, it's just a really weird. It looks like mineral residue. It's what was this, like a MG?
Well, I'm glad you've been drinking. Anyway, go on to your pick.
Yes, a YouTube channel that I discovered last night or the night before called Digital. I have to try to pronounce this. Digital Stereophony.
Yes, that's right.
Stereophony.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. This channel literally just does sound comparisons between two speakers. They will have A/B comparisons with the same music going back and forth between two different loudspeakers. And they use a nice quality camera and a very good quality like field mic. And it sounds pretty damn good. Like, put on headphones, listen to these, and it's very close to being in the room with it. And like, I use this to pick out a pair of computer speakers. I've been using really shitty computer speakers for a long time. I'm like, no, I'm going to buy these. But then I found a good deal on Amazon. I didn't know what they sounded like. Poking around online for reviews, and I found a link to this channel, and it's got all of the edifiers and stuff that are popular on Amazon and these creative speakers I was looking at. And you can't like pick what they've A/B'd, but there's so many different things. You're probably going to find something that's either it has the speaker that you're interested in, or some, like in my case, I actually found a video that compared the two I was considering to each other, which was great. So definitely worth checking out. They have very good production value, very, very good sound quality, which is obviously important because, I mean, it's not perfect, still going through YouTube compression.
Do they have any Altec Lansing reviews?
I don't think they have any retro stuff on here, which is unfortunate. Not any like passive creative speakers that rely on like your Sound Blaster 2.0's
oh, nice
built-in amplifier. Actually, yeah, the Sound Blaster 2.0
definitive technology stuff.
Amplifier. You do?
Sorry, go ahead. I have DefTech.
That's fine.
Subs and satellites still.
Oh yeah, check it out. YouTube channel.
Cool.
Speakers. Demoing them before you buy them online is a good thing. I didn't have anything else. Anything else, guys? Before we wrap this one up? No, Josh.
Thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Brett.
No worries. Seeing you again.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we will talk to you guys next week.